hits here. Then he's got the same score as Gong Fu Banda, and then obviously things get very tricky and complicated towards the final 2 rounds. So let's get it on. I'm very excited for it. In the bottom left side, we are looking at the main base of the one and only young Russian Zergy. It is Vanya. Oh my god, he's got a Russian curtain. I love it.
In the top right hand side, we do have our Polish Zerg player in the blue from XCOM Argo. It is Elazer.
Did you expect Elazer to start off this strong in Group A, Wadi?
Yeah, not really. I think it's like, I'm not surprised per se, but I wouldn't have said he definitely would have done it, right? You know, he's, for me, been a little bit on and off as of late, but then I look at who he's played and I would say, well, I kind of do expect him to beat everybody that he's played. Bly, Christiana, Gung Fu, you know, he also played against Shadowrun, I believe, so I guess he's not played the toughest players in the group just yet, but yeah, I mean, I guess when I look at that list of players, a 4-0 isn't too surprising, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, especially Gung Fu with the way that he's been performing in some of the Monday evenings. I think we all kind of thought, I don't know, I feel like all 4 of the players he mentions, like, yeah, Elazer might be the favorite, but do you expect him to just beat all 4 and as convincingly as he's done so far, only dropping a single map? I believe that map loss was against Bly on the most recent playday. Yeah, as you guys can see, that's understanding in Group A. A big one for Vanya. You go 3 and 2, and you put yourself in a mighty fine spot in securing one of the top 4 slots. For the people who are unfamiliar with the format, top 2 is a very big deal because we basically have 8 players advancing to the winner bracket of the playoffs, and then everyone who finishes in 3rd to 4th spot is going to drop into the lower bracket of the playoffs, which means you're still alive, you're still in the tournament, and you're going to have to win the entire tournament through the lower bracket, and then, of course, it's very difficult.
Yep, no, definitely better to have a second chance and start in that winning bracket. So it is a pretty big deal. And right now, of course, obviously Elazer and Clem making a pretty good bid for that here in this group. And as we do see, very standard startup. Roddy, really nothing too crazy at all just yet, which it is just early, but, you know, I've seen Vanya turn ZVZs into complete mayhem by this point plenty of times in the past.
Yeah, no, we're keeping a real close eye on the production tab for you guys, because with Vanya, like I said, I've casted a couple ZVZs where I'm like, all right, he's going to go for a Link Flood. Never mind, it's Lings and Banes. Never mind, all of a sudden it's Roaches, and then it's still Lings with +1. I'm like, what the hell, mate? What are we doing? You're showing like 4 different strategies. But I think that's why he is such a difficult opponent to go up against. And I do really believe that that recent victory that Vanya had in this group over Drogo, that should give him a lot of confidence and momentum to put up one hell of a fight here. And yeah, potentially go for the minor upset. And that is defeat Elazer here.
Yep, and he's in a great position as well, right? Because if you do pick up the win here, well, you're still top 4, pretty comfortably top 4. And, you know, you've picked up the win against one of the tougher players, and 2 of the tougher players maybe ahead of you at that stage. So it's, you know, you've already had your match against Clem. So yeah, definitely would be a good time to do well.
What I don't really understand is why does Vanya have the same amount of drones with way less units? Elazer is already morphing 3 banelings on the left side, on Vanya's side of the map, and quite a few Zerglings are running towards this hatchery. Now with the 3 defensive banelings, we should be fine here, but keep a close eye on those banelings of Elazer because they're coming in via the left side.
Yep, gonna start running on through and just gonna start to put that pressure on this base. Now it's 3 Banes of Vanya, and of course a lot of this will come down to connections and micro, and it looks as though Elazer's gonna back it up. Starts a lair back at home. Vanya gonna go for the melee upgrade. We really do start to see a bit of a divergence for both players in this game. It's just a counter-attack with nothing. Elazer just let these run across the map.
Yep, no, that's actually a lovely pickup here for Vanya, getting 4 drones without even really using any of his own banelings. Those were just pure Zerglings, and even gets out of there with the majority of his links, while Elazer is the one going up to lair, dropping a Roach Warren now. Elazer is not particularly known for his Overlord scouting into the main bases, and if he doesn't pick up real quick on the fact that Vanya is stopping on, well, he's actually taking up now, but he's obviously researching +1 melee. Vanya doesn't have a Roach Warren where the banelings of Elazer are a bit out of position. I think Elazer could be in serious trouble here, Waddy.
Yeah, I think so too. Now he gets a decent Baneling connection to start, and he will probably need some of those along the way. Vanya going to get by the Banelings into the natural expansion, which is not walled off. The Queen just moved off to the left side, so now Ling's in the natural. He can send Lings up into the main as well. They kind of stopped on the ramp for a moment or two, and if nothing else, it's just chaotic. It's all over the place, and this is the sort of thing which then you obviously end up with the +4 melee, and you can really turn this into your own game.
Yep. Vanya, mate, you missed such a big opportunity to one-shot a couple of those drones. 4 or 5 drones there were one hit away from dying, and he had like 8 links or so attacking the other drones that were kind of in a choke point. It's still looking mighty fine for the Russian, but it is important that he doesn't make a mistake here against the Banelings of Elazer, as that is a little bit of a mistake. And way more Banelings are morphing on both sides, I believe. But Vanya should have gone for those drones, Waddy. There were 5, 6 drones. One Zergling hit away from dying.
I know, I saw him like kind of waddle a Baneling towards them initially, and he's like, no, my Lings will get those. And then they just didn't find the chances. Elazer comes up here with a couple of Banes. +1 melee about to kick in, by the way, so we're finally going to have that actual upgrade advantage here for Vanya. Of course, that doesn't affect Baneling heads here. It's only going to be for the Ling-on-Ling fights. And right now, we're seeing both of them skirmishing with Banes, and there's a lot of Banes for Elazer. He's going to run through. You can see that Vanya does find a good connection in the end.
Yeah, if I'm Vanya now, it's just pedal to the metal for me. Instead of building those roaches, those drones, I kind of wish that he would just attack. Because this is where he's got more units, and he's got the better units. He's the one with +1. Elazer is also getting his own +1 melee, but it's going to take a little while before that finishes up. The good news for Elazer, I guess, is that his Spire is a little bit quicker, Wardy, but he didn't really have the best economy up to this point. So it's not like he's going to show up with 17 mutas to none.
Yeah, he's obviously being kept very, very busy, so he's not being able to really just build up that gas bank. So only 4 meters on the way. Obviously not super scary to begin with here, but we'll see what they can do. I mean, Spire's about to be done from Vanya. He doesn't exactly have the money to have too many additional meters himself, so they're both going to slowly move into mutalist production. And at this point, it becomes difficult to move away from it, as one Bane is going to connect, but there's no follow-up.
Yeah. Second time that we drop a lot of drones to a very low HP number, but Vanya doesn't really have the units in place to pick those off. Elazer does have his first mutas on the battlefield. He's still 9 workers behind, and when we're making the same units, it's going to be very difficult for Elazer to turn this one around. Maybe he can find a couple of overlords to begin with, and slowly but steady even things up.
Yeah, we will see. Obviously, having the mutas first does help, and he does go in for a couple of Ovies, but I mean, now he's going to have his opponent's mutas jumping on him, and you just can't fight that. He's only got 5 mutas of his own. Yes, again, into the mineral line right away, right? Just no defense in position, no Queen blocking off, just complete another the game. Lack of defense, really, from the late. Like, he has units nearby, but he shouldn't have to lose the 4 drones initially.
Yep. At this point, Elazer has lost 13 drones throughout this game. Vanya has 99 Zerglings, but a drone wasn't one of them. So that's obviously what you're making them Zerglings for. Elazer did do a good job in finding a couple stray overlords. He picked off 3. It seems like Vanya has picked off 3 as well, but I believe one of them was a bit earlier with the Queens. Elazer is the one actually rushing into the +1 flyer attacks, which is something worth talking about, right? Because they always say that it's slightly better to get carapace if you're playing mutas against mutas. Why do you think he's investing in flyer?
I don't really know. If maybe he believes his opponent... I mean, do you believe your opponent isn't going to continue with mutas? Maybe you just believe you can... I mean, maybe you just think you need to fight against the Lings more. Then counterattack again, man.
Yep, that's a crap ton of Zerglings for Vanya, and this time there was not a single defensive Baneling in location for Elazer, which means he's going to lose the Zergling fight. The mutas are getting close to each other. Elazer does have a few more mutalists, but Vanya's doing the right thing. He doesn't need to take a game-deciding muta fight. All he needs to do is make these mutas choose what they want to fight, Zerglings or mutas. Vanya once more finding 8 rounds of damage. I think the young Russian is playing a mighty fine game 1 here.
Yep, he's doing everything the right sort of way. I love what you say. You don't need to necessarily, take a good fight. You just need to cause damage elsewhere and be a distraction. Elazer supply blocked at the moment as well because these mutas are being flying around. He is going to go jump in on this right now. His fire attack upgrade is going to finish during this. Lings get underneath from both players, but there will be Lings from Vanya left over, and that means some of the bounces will go on Lings instead of mutas. But if Elazer can win the muta fight, he can get into a really good position because then, of course, you render your opponent's mutalist useless, and maybe you win this off the back of the mutas.
Yep, well, he definitely won the Muda fight, that's for sure. Vanya losing a few more Mudas there than Elazer. He's lost 20 in total, but it's the Zerglings that are causing all the troubles for Elazer in this game. Once more, we did not have a single defensive laning. Elazer did do a very good job there in buying some extra time with his own Zerglings. Yeah, he's going to lose more and more drones. And the 10 Mudas that he killed against Vanya, that matters. That's a really big deal. He won that fight decisively, but at this point, it's 4 bases against 3. And if I'm Vanya, I'm even dropping a Sport Crawler or 2 body just to be safe.
Yep, a Spore 2 will just keep you safe, right? It'll work down those mutalist numbers of Elazer slowly but surely, and it just means you can sit back with less mutas if you need to. And eventually, 4 base against 3, you have more gas, you will get more mutas. So it's just about not having to take another bad fight before then. The one thing Elazer will remain to have in his favor is going to be that upgrade lead, right? He went for that +1 flyer attack, so that is the one thing to keep in mind. Maybe above all else here, if you're an Elazer fan and you're hoping he's going to turn this one around.
Yeah, well, I definitely think it's still a game because Elazer has still a 23-20 Muda advantage. He's going to find a few more drones here with his Mudas, and the Queen's obviously not always participating in the fight. So not only does he have more Mudas, he's got the better Mudas too. And I feel like Vanya is making this game incredibly hard on himself. Now, Elazer's going to try to do his best to save as many of his own Mudas as he can. He knows that he's still down a base. I guess the Queen's barely turned that fight in favor of Vanya, but it's still awfully close, buddy, because there is still a 13-5, excuse me, 13-8 Muda advantage on the side of Elazer, who now feels like he needs to do the game-deciding fight as he's losing more and more drones at home. Will Vanya have enough anti-air? He doesn't have a single Spore Crawler to run through.
You mentioned spores, and a couple of spores would have gone such a long way. You can see how fast these meters of Vanya are going down. Elazer might not have a lot of meters left, but you don't need a lot of meters. Realistically, if there's no spores to fight against or anything, and now he's going to start killing drones himself, so he's going to start evening up the work and damage taken, and Vanya's going to type GG. Elazer steals this game 1 away from Vanya. I mean, this should have been Vanya's game, Roddy. He made a couple mistakes. 1 spore in each mineral line, he probably has the victory.
Yeah. I mean, even if he only had 2 spores, maybe one at the 4th base and one at the 3rd, so you make it a bit harder. If Elazer then wants to fight, he needs to get into the center of 4 bases, and then all the queens should always be able to participate. Vanya did all the hard work correctly, and then he didn't do the easy work. He was a bit too eager. We see this often of young players when they're playing an awesome game. At one point, he's like, all right, let's just go ahead and take this fight. But that was the only fight that he should not have taken. It was the only way to lose the game, and that is take a Muda against Muda fight. When you're simply down in Mudas, it was 18 against 23 when the big fight started. And then on top of that, +1 flyer attacks on the side of Elazer. No upgrades on the Mudas of Vanya. Just really unnecessary. Like, he was doing perfectly fine. He did not have to take those fights. Very well done by Elazer, though, because that game looked, well, grim is an understatement. 3 bases against 4 and down economically. It felt almost impossible, but Elazer gets the job done again.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was even more options for Vanya to do more damage, right? You know, when he missed those drones that we brought up at the time, and I feel like there's a couple moments like that where Vanya maybe could have even gotten further ahead early, and that just goes to show how far ahead he was getting himself without those additional kind of kills. So definitely a rough one for Elazer. I feel like you go into game 2 now and you're a little bit shaky as Elazer because he's like, man, I really barely won that first game, and everything went wrong for me from the early few minutes.
Yes and no. It can also work the other way where you're like, oh my god, if I can win that game, I'm gonna win any game against this kid, right? Because this wasn't looking all that pretty. At one point he lost 15 drones, did not kill a single drone yet on the other side of the map. I mean, that just really goes to show the veteran and the experience that Elazer does have after all these years, because that was not an easy game to win. He had 1 shot of winning it, and that was just by convincingly winning the Muda fight, and he got the job done. This man is going to be kicking himself a little bit for that first game because he knew that he did all the hard job or all the hard work. All he had to do was finish it, could not find it. Bottom left side, our Russian Zerg down 0-1. It's Vanya.
Upper right-hand side, our blue Zerg player is going to be Elazer.
I even felt it already started when Vanya took the Muda against Muda fight on Elazer's side of the map, right? That was a bit unnecessary too, where it's like, why are we here with all the Mudas? You can see Vanya, he's still kind of leaning back and feel like he's sighing deeply because he knew that he just kind of butchered an opportunity of taking a 1-0 lead in this series. Like, he had the advantage in every department of the game other than the Muda fight, and then you've got but one job, or the Muda count rather, and that is not fight Muda against Muda, because that's the only way you can still lose the game.
Yep. The only way. If you had to make a guess, Roddy, for game number 2 here, what do you think we see? Do we see more Mudas? Do we go into roaches?
I think we're gonna get a hatchery all-in from one of the boys of 3 bases, maybe a +1 timing, or maybe some Ling Ravager. I don't know, but I have the feeling that we're not gonna tack up to Lara as quickly as we did in the previous game. I think we're gonna spam a lot of units from hatchery attack, but I don't know which one.
That's a pretty fair guesstimate here on Jagannatha. A lot of people still underestimate just how short Jagannatha is, right? For those attacks coming across, they're pretty speedy from natural to natural.
Yeah, because of the acceleration zones. The map is big, but yeah, because of all the acceleration zones in the center, some of the attacks actually arrive quite quickly. And I feel like the last few times we saw Saro and Reina duke it out on this map against each other was pretty much always a mass Roach-Ling attack from Saro, preventing some of those greedy Spire builds from Reina to take place.
Yeah, doesn't want to fight against those Mutas.
Muta, you need to punish them. You need to punish the greedy openings, Marty.
Excited to see some, hopefully, Saro Reino in the playoffs, man. It's been, I've casted them a couple times in qualifiers, but it's not the same as when they play in the playoffs and stuff, right?
And especially when he's playing from my house, apparently I gave him the worst setup in history, so it was all the Roddy setup.
Yeah, all the Roddy setup, I know. Disgraceful, Roddy. Bane Nest goes down for Elazer. Vanya opts no Bane in the Nest just yet. He's just now going to get the gas, so it might just be a bit later, might be a bit more of a mineral-heavy opening for him. He could, of course, skip it and just go into a Roach Run and bypass the Bane Nest. If he does that, he's going to need a lot of Lings, like what he's building now, to take the pressure and presence onto the other side of the map.
Yep, this is something that players often do when they want to skip the Baning Nest. So pretty much always, they fire up a big bunch of Zerglings right before their opponent does. So there will be a little skirmish on the Elazer side of the map. Elazer does get a perfect scout, though. I feel like if you go up against this build, this is pretty much when you want to know you go up against it. Because now Elazer could potentially go pedal to the metal and maybe just send a couple Zerglings to the other side of the map, morph those into Banelings already. He decides not to do it. He wants to focus on keeping his hatchery alive, which I think he will, but that's a lot of damage already on that hatchery of Elazer.
Yeah, but already kind of low, not going to have a lot of wiggle room with that later on. The Bane's desperately trying to find a decent connection here, but just won't quite get close enough. Elazer is going to push Vanya back for now. Again, Vanya is actually going to go for the more aggressive variation of this. Roaches are on the way up, Roddy, so you called a hatch tech all in. That's exactly what we're going to get. Elazer starts his own Roach Roar, and now he will not have that in time for this Roach fight. I refuse to believe it.
Yep. Vanya's doing a really good job in making sure that all these units of these Elazer are staying on Elazer's side of the map, because at this point Elazer is more occupied with defending than wondering what else is heading his way. As he's building more and more drones, I wonder when, it's just too many. Now, Vanya is also firing up a couple of drones behind all of this, which I'm a little bit surprised, because I feel like this is such a big commitment that you kind of just gotta send it. So I wonder what those 3 drones were up for.
Yeah, and nice. He's making a couple more as well, Roddy. I don't really... does he doubt himself? I mean, he's just that here. Is he expecting a Laser to all in almost? It makes no sense because he's the one with less drones, so... I don't really get it. Now Lazer's going to easily get Roaches up in time. Yeah, this just doesn't quite make sense for Vanya.
Nope, it seems like Vanya has misread it. Maybe because Elazer scouted the fact that Vanya didn't have a Baning Nest so early. Vanya's like, I need these Roaches, and he was indeed almost anticipating Elazer to attack him, and then all of it maybe would have been perfect. And now it didn't make sense because he made them so early. That was a massive investment, but now he's attacking so late with them that Elazer has more than enough units out of a far superior economy.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt that Vanya just dug his own grave in game 2.
Yeah, he's actually just killed himself, right? He's behind, and only because of what he decided to do. So, yeah. Elazer didn't even really have to do much here. Vanya's going to start the plus on missile upgrade, and maybe that's a lead he can take later in this game, but Elazer's about to retake a worker lead, and he is attacking as well with this army, so he's going to look to push his army advantage right now as well.
Yep, and I don't hate it because Elazer's got 19 roaches out against only 13 on the side of Vanya. Vanya's gonna try to buy some time with these Zerglings, and he finds a queen, which is nice, and we're gonna find a couple drones, but slightly more concerning is this army of Elazer that's now knocking on the front door of Vanya. And Vanya really just doesn't have enough units to deal with this. It's a bit of a confusing game coming out of our Russian player who's now down 16 workers party, and it's not like he's got a tech or upgrade advantage.
Elazer going to back it up a little bit, just not having his own Zerglings here makes it a little bit less of a fight he wants to take. He will get to the acceleration zone and back away, but again, he's coming out of this with a 14 worker lead, so he doesn't necessarily need a fight on Vanya's side of the map. He's going to try and keep running away. He's losing quite a few roaches here, Roddy, but again, he's really in the position where he can afford to.
Yep, and obviously it's not like Vanya can immediately pounce on any opportunity he creates for himself, because his roaches are also very slow. Elazer is counter-attacking with his Zerglings in the natural. I gotta say, Vanya's doing a good job in buying some extra time here with his queens, dropping a couple of good transfusions. The fight on Elazer's side of the map is close, but any close fight is a good fight for Elazer, because he's the one who's economically ahead. He's the one who's going to be able to pick up these units too with the reinforcing Zerglings, and it's a very odd, an offbeat ZVZ here, but the TLDR is that everything just looks great for Elazer at this point.
Yep. Nope, it looks really, really good for him across the board. I mean, Aspire starts up from Vanya. If he can survive long enough to get that in play, maybe that's a way back in for him. But to bank up the money to go into Mutas, you've got to imagine that Elazer is going to find a timing here to take advantage of that. I'd be surprised if he didn't. And even if he doesn't find a way to stop the Mutas from getting out, he's still in the economy advantage. He is still in a position where he could defend those and still play a fine game anyway.
I gotta say, I don't hate the Spire, because if Vanya would just continue building roaches the way that Elazer is building roaches, I think he just always loses, right? He's just a bit too far behind. Now, this is a excellent Overseer Scout coming out of our Poly Zerg. We'll see the Spire, knows the timing of it, and if I'm Elazer, at this point, it's F2A move to the other side of the map, because I know that I have been economically ahead. I know that I've got more roaches. He even canceled +2. He fired up +2 for his roaches, decided to cancel it. Elazer's like, you know what? I just want as many units as I can possibly get my hands on at this point, because I want to go ahead and end this game. I don't want to wait until you've got 10+ Mutalisk out.
Nope, and why the heck should you? He's about to get roach speed to reinforce a little bit. Becoming a little easier right now again, just and getting caught. Those lings are putting in work for Vanya and helping him to hold this off for really as long as possible. And eventually Elazer gets through the lings, and now he's going to have an easier time pushing forward. Again, he's also about to have that roach speed, and that does make a world of difference in this situation, as he does back it up a little bit, but still 25 army supply ahead. Vanya's going to attempt to get up to Mutalisk, but it's going to take those low Mutalisk counts a very long time to get through all of these incoming roaches from Elazer.
So far, so good, though, I gotta say. It's actually a pretty good hold by Vanya. He doesn't have a lot, but he's making the most out of the units he did have out. Did a great job in holding that ramp, and the first Mutas are out. Now, 2 or 3 Mutas, they will make the difference, but the moment you've got 5, 6, or even 8 Mutalisks just non-stop putting out some damage on these roaches, I actually think this could be a convincing hold in the end. It's important to take care of the roaches that are running into the natural too. Love this multi-prong by Elazer.
I wouldn't lie, Roddy. I was kind of casting it, expecting another 10 roaches to show up already, but they never came. So yeah, he is able to turn that around. Yeah, nice to get in here and do some damage. And this is going to keep the Mutas back as well. It gives Elazer time to get up into the Hydralisk production, so he'll be well prepared for the Mutalisk when they do get across the map. Yeah, this is actually taking a long time to clean up. And once again, Vanya's going to find himself over 20 workers behind. And I don't think Elazer is in any concern of, having given up too many roaches here. He's even picking off a couple of the Ravagers up on the top side. So yeah, it looks as though he is going to be good to do the damage, and now you just have to make sure those Mutas don't get out of hand, Roddy.
I almost felt like if we would have had 2 spine crawlers in that natural, maybe this all would have been a little bit easier for Vanya. Maybe when he knew that he was trying to cut some corners and going into these Mutas as quickly as he did, maybe it would have been better to focus on only defending 2 bases rather than trying to defend 3 mineral lines at once. I think at this point, droning up is pointless for Vanya. I think we're way too many drones behind, like 34. That's something you just don't overcome. I think he should just all in. Instead, he's doing a little bit of both. He is morphing extra Ravages, but he's also going to try to drone his way back into this game. And I think that's the wrong move against 4 bases of Elazer. He doesn't know about the 4th hatchery, so maybe that has something to do with it. Yeah, I just don't really see a way. Mutas are good, Wardy and ZVZ, but I don't think they are this good.
No, I don't think they're this good either. Roaches are going to find the middle, and, well, There is a lot of Ravagers there, which typically helps Vanya, but when you overrun like this, obviously they are weak, they're fragile, and they go down quickly, and that will be what starts to happen. GG's tap